I am excited to explore, and I want you to come with me as I explore a vacation location that I am considering in Trinidad and Tobago. So, first, I want to share the first thing that I see, or not the first thing, but I'm going to explain some of the key things that I see in my relocated chart. And I saved some time to do this before recording, so you don't have to see all that because it does take time. And what I want to point out first is where I see my sun. I see the sun in the 10th house. I see my midheaven in the 11th house. This time it's in Sagittarius. Whereas in my natal chart, is the sun and the midheaven are in the 11th house, where, well, relocated in Trinidad and Tobago, the sun would be in the 10th house. So that would mean I would enjoy a career that is front and center, that is about leaving a legacy that means something to me. That's one of the first things I see. My midheaven is in the 11th house, Sagittarius ruled. So that means groups and associations would still be in that 11th house, but this time they would take the tone of publishing or higher education or travel, foreign lands, foreign people. And I also see the moon being in the 4th house. Now, Taurus, the moon is exalted in Taurus. And I feel like if I go to Trinidad and Tobago, I would feel like it's home for me. I feel like I would be at home. I also see the 7th house and ruled by Leo would be where Jupiter is, my descendant would be, and the part of fortune. So to me, this seems like, wow, this is like a great place that I might vacation. I see Pluto and Libra in the 9th house. So that means I might have a very powerful and fair way of interacting with people in a foreign land or as a foreigner. And I find that just right off the bat, there appear to be some positive relationships between, let's see, Mars Mars in Sag and Jupiter in Leo. There seems to be a trine relationship there. And it also seems to be trining the midheaven and Mercury. So it seems like I would have a really passionate, energized experience amongst groups. I see Neptune here. So as a vacation place, to me, the presence of Neptune with the purpose of vacationing seems like it would be a great experience. That's what I can see. That's what I would guess would be my experience. Now I'm going to share the solar map. So I showed you the chart and now I'm showing you the map. So we see my second house. Here are the location of the houses of Trinidad and Tobago. We see the Sagittarius line here. We see the parents, though, that go from east to west. So the parents would be east to west, and this would be like a local space line. So we see that there would be Venus and Juno would be playing a role here. Um, Saturn and Neptune would be playing a role, and Jupiter and Uranus, because as we saw on the map or in the chart, Uranus and the sun are together. But on the ascendant, we see Aquarius would be my ascendant. So let's go back to that map and see Uranus and Jupiter would be playing a really interesting role here. Now, if I would be in Trinidad and Tobago here, that I might want to measure the distance between these lines and see what their influence would be. Would they have a strong influence, medium influence, or minimal influence? And so with measuring that, it looks like it's about 17 miles. So I would say it would be a strong influence of the Saturn and Neptune line, 17 miles from the center of Trinidad and Tobago to that line. And then if I measure from the Uranus and Jupiter line, it would be 24 miles. Now let me measure this Jupiter-Venus line, about 41 miles. So between a very strong and a medium influence is what I would tend to experience there. Jupiter is about expansion, and Uranus is the unexpected. And then there was a mention of Saturn. Now, Saturn would be the ruler of the ascendant here because it's the ancient ruler of Aquarius. And this is the glyph for Juno. So we can see the aspects here. There is a bit of opposition, but opposites, while they bring tension, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is harsh in this regard, because Jupiter expands and Juno represents kind of like home in a way. Let's double click. Juno is named for the Queen of Heaven and carries a sense of royalty and entitlement. Juno was patroness of marriage, and the asteroid represents conjugal issues and partnership. Now, this is according to the software that's already installed here. So I didn't write this. So there would be an opposition here between Juno, let's say, being marriage or regality, and then Jupiter. So even when there's an opposition between these two, Jupiter would maybe expand that between the first and seventh house. So I would imagine that if I were to want to be in a relationship here, it would just be opposing ideas of what the ideal relationship is. Now, Aquarius and Leo are opposites. And then to me, I would see this as an unconventional type of relationship, one that might be fun, seeing as how Leo and Aquarius are on the opposite sides. It would be dramatic and lush, I would imagine, with the Leo component, and Aquarius being thinking outside the box. So that's something I focus on. And with Saturn being in the 8th house, I would imagine that I would need to make sure that I have my money together. Since Saturn in the 8th house would be like other people's money. I would just see this as a great place for me to visit for vacation. Now, that's the purpose that I would be going for, and that's the reason for this exploration. And so I hope that this gave you another glimpse into the value that having this type of service means. So, meaning going to a place is great, but knowing the weather before you go is even better, so you can be prepared. And if you have any questions, leave a question for me in the comments. I think I get more value from meeting with someone one-on-one so that we can explore the kinds of questions that you may have. And then ultimately you make the final decision. But I would say if someone were coming to me to say, I want to go to Trinidad and Tobago for vacation, I would look at the solar map with the parans to see what paran lines are running through that area. And then I would look at the relocated map like we did here. And based on that, it's like, wow, yeah, I would go for it. And then I would leave it up to the client to make their final choice. So thanks for being with me. I love this work. I get so much fulfillment from clarity, doing the exploration and the investigation so that we can get you a step closer to making a choice with confidence. So thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Beyond the Sun podcast.